Hello and welcome back to Inside Update, where every other week we are talking about headlines and deep dives from InsideInvestigator.org. Today, I am joined by Catherine Revelo and Tricia Ennis, and this show's a little bit different in that we're not talking about two investigations. We're going to talk about some structural changes at Inside Investigator, which the last time they had to do with Tricia as well. So we'll go from there. Uh, First, though, let's talk to Catherine about her most recent investigation. It's called Limited, Examining Right to Read Waiver Determinations. Spoiler alert, this is about the right to read implementation happening across Connecticut. Catherine, this is a dense one, tons of information, tons of research. Bring us up to speed.
Yeah, it is. So, right, obviously, right to read's been pretty controversial since last December when 75% of school districts that applied for waivers to keep their reading programs were told, no, you have to adopt new reading programs. It's being implemented now. Schools are adopting new reading programs. We've heard a lot of accusations from those school districts. We've heard the Department of Education defending itself against those accusations. But in all of the conversations about this, we hadn't seen any news pieces that actually looked at what exactly was in those waiver applications. So that's what we did. We FOI'd for some of the documents that school districts had to send as part of those waiver applications. We FOI'd for the documents that the Department of Education used to make those determinations. And we also FOI'd for email communications between CSDE employees and school districts. And part of this investigation started out as a tip that we got with concern that as part of the actual right to read law, school districts who wanted to submit a waiver application had to submit testing data and testing scores from their existing reading programs. But CSDE had admitted previously in a couple of places that they didn't actually consider any of that data when they were making waiver determinations. So that was really what we were initially looking for. We found a whole bunch more stuff, including, kind of technical issues that school districts ran into when they were submitting applications, issues involving grants that school districts could apply to help defray some of the costs of adopting new reading programs. There's really just a lot going on here.
Well, let's zoom out just for a quick second to the 30,000 foot level here. We had written about right to read previously. Mark had done an investigation on this. So you were really looking to get into the weeds. But the purpose of this whole thing was, for God's sake, let's help kids get better literacy results, correct? I mean, that's the drive behind it. Do you feel like there was a clear answer given about why those who were meeting those benchmarks were required to change? Or I guess could you kind of dig a little bit into the different treatment between the different districts and why that test data not being accounted for had downstream effects?
Yeah, so I don't think we've gotten a clear answer yet, right? Obviously, we saw a lot of high performing districts who were denied waiver applications. So we're told you need a new reading program. And, obviously, if you're one of those districts, there's concern about that. And that's been, I think, one of the major controversies in the news. And that was one of the things that we hoped to kind of clear up by getting all of that data, was to see if we could see what CSDE's rationale for, and I should also mention the third-party consulting group that helped them make those determinations, because that's also part of the controversy. But we were really trying to see if there was anything in the data, in the actual documents, that helped us, figure out why were these decisions made. And the answer really is that, is no. There were a couple of different types of waiver determinations. You could either have your program fully approved, you could get a partial waiver where you were told you meet certain elements of right to read requirement, but there's a phonics component that's missing, so you need to add another program that addresses phonics. Or you could have your program completely denied. And for those mixed waivers where people were told, hey, you need to add this component, we can see what the rationale was. They kind of matches up to the data that was submitted. But when you look at school districts that either had their programs fully approved or fully denied, it's a lot harder to figure out. And looking at that testing data, you can see, there are districts that, hey, we have great tests, we have really low, substantially deficient rates, but then they're told, sorry, your program isn't approved. Or you have school districts that have testing rates where a lot of students are substantially deficient, but their programs are approved. So it just, from looking just at the data, it is a little difficult to make sense of exactly what those rationales were.
I mean, it's the human element too, right? Every single kid is different. It seems like there's probably something going on in the districts that is, beyond the data. And I think that you did a good job getting into some of that in that you reached out to these districts and especially their leadership to actually get comment and understand the costs, the administrative hurdles that they had to jump through, kind of what this looks like moving forward. I'm not sure if there's anything that you want to share about that, but I definitely think you deserve credit for kind of taking that extra step and trying to understand the bigger picture of it's yes, it's a bigger picture, but it's also does not seem to be one size fits all, at least in the responses.
Yeah, and I think that was a lot of district complaints. Right. So obviously, after applications had been submitted, school districts had a half-hour meeting that they could have with the Department of Education, with PCG, which was the consultancy group. And there are a lot of notes in the review tool that a CSDE compiled. That note districts mentioning things like, our teachers are the ones who are really helping implement these programs. It's the relationships that they're building. It's the things that they're doing that, are making our reading programs a success. And that really wasn't an element of waiver determinations. And I think a number of districts were, upset about that. And I think the other thing we should probably mention is, even the people that we talked to for this story who are critical of what's going on, they support right to read. They support the science of reading being implemented. The criticism here is really just the way that it's been implemented and the way that communication between districts and the Department of Education has gone.
For sure. Yeah, I guess if there were any superintendents speaking up saying we really want our kids to read worse, that would be newsworthy in its own right.
Right. Yeah.
Um, you also, one last thing that I want to highlight here is you did this section at the very end that was dive deeper, which I think it's one of the things that we try to focus on as a company is making sure that folks can get the direct information for themselves, right? We want to translate it, we want to summarize it. But in this dive deeper section, you have pretty much everything that you got via FOIA, right? Everyone could just go and poke around for their own town and get a better understanding that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything we obtained through FOI, a bunch of tables that we made to try to, kind of make sense of the data. You can go online, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the article. It's all linked there. So if you want to poke around, find things out for yourself, that's absolutely what all that data is there for.
Fantastic. I really appreciate that. And I'll be curious to see how this shakes out. We still have a few more months here until this is 100%, right? It's beginning of 2025, or is there a specific month where everyone is expected to be at 100%?
I don't recall if there's a specific month. I would assume it's the beginning of the school year, but basically because of that date, school districts are now having to purchase new programs and to implement them for the upcoming school year to make sure that they are in full compliance with the law when it goes into full effect.
For sure. All right, one more because you did bring up the money piece, and I did think that at least in one case, someone said we literally can't afford this. What do you do in that situation? Is there any clarity, or you kind of just stuck with a bill?
So far it seems like you may just be stuck with a bill. I think that's hopefully one of the things that the Department of Education is working with school districts on. There have been some grants that are available to districts to help defray the costs of these new programs, but the problem is the grants are tens of thousands of dollars compared to hundreds of thousands of dollars that these new programs cost. And those grants also came with certain stipulations such as attending professional development training, which in at least one case that we found in email communication, because some of the smaller districts in the state just don't have the staff to accommodate that, they ended up losing out on that money.
no doubt that this will be something that we will follow, and likely more information coming out. Hopefully, again, it's to help kids. If we can figure that one out, that would be a big win for everyone involved. Catherine, thank you again for that. And let's switch over to chatting with Tricia. So I'll preface this. We are recording this on Thursday, and tomorrow is Tricia's last day with Inside Investigator, which is kind of a
Hmm.
wild thing. I mean, you've been here since day one, since you helped us create this whole thing.
Hmm.
And I truly, I'm saying this with a smile on my face because it's an awesome advancement step for you here. So bring us up to speed. People are going to miss you, but where are you headed?
Yeah, so as of when this actually arrives in people's feeds, um, I'll be done at Inside Investigator. Tomorrow, Friday, is my last day. As you said, I am then starting on Monday as the Director of Digital Content at Fox 61 in Hartford. So I get to, run a great team over there, helping to, do more with their website and their streaming apps and, a whole bunch of cool stuff. And it'll be a good time, I think.
Awesome. That's really fantastic. We're obviously sad to lose you, but excited for you. And it turns out that it's nice to hear more legacy media outlets moving toward and focusing on digital. We obviously think that it's the wave of the future. I guess is that so you're going to be spinning it up. I mean, that's part of their business now, right? But you're trying to just bring your skills to bear on improving it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's already a great team in place. They are just looking for a new person in that leadership role, and that is the position that I'm going to be filling. Helping out with digital strategy and bringing them to bigger and better places. So I'm not going anywhere necessarily. I won't be here at Inside Investigator anymore. People won't have those stories for me, but I will still be in Connecticut. So I will still be covering this state and all of these wonderful things that are going on and trying to do some interesting innovations over there. So hopefully people will spread the love a little bit and come follow me over there as well as continuing to stay up to date on Inside Investigators stories.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's part of our shtick, at least. I feel like, we go, we publish everything we do under a Creative Commons license, and something like 20 newspapers across the state republish our stuff on a regular basis. And
Mhm.
partnerships are a big part of growing our business and helping everyone be successful. I don't think we talk about it enough openly, probably, but that's kind of the idea, right? Is we just want more good journalism, no matter where it comes from. Don't get me wrong. I wish we had 100 reporters on our team alone just looking into this stuff, but there's a lot of outlets out there doing really great work. Um, you, in the past 2.5 years, I think a few of the things that you have continuously hit on in terms of sharing information with our audience is helping people become more informed about what they don't know about journalism. And
Mhm.
I think if you have a second, I don't know, you've talked about just the importance of tips, the importance of anonymity and understanding how that works. I mean, are there any last words of wisdom that you would want to share, or heck, please, to the public about how you can help journalists in across the state?
I mean, the things that I try to get across to people in terms of thinking about not just journalism as a business or as a career or things like that, but also like journalists as people is that everyone is trying to do the best that they can, and they're trying to cover the communities that they everybody journalists live in the communities that they cover. um, they are trying to cover things that are important to people. They're trying to inform the populace. We're in every 4 years we have a big contentious presidential election that tends to, at least in the last 8 or so years, has been very contentious for journalists. There's a lot of mudslinging, and I think that approach journalists just like anybody else. They're people, they're humans, they're doing their best, and if there's something that you think they're not covering or that they're covering incorrectly, let them know. Ideally without yelling. But just they want to know. Everybody's human. You cover what you know. You cover what you are aware of, and what you think people want or need to know. So sending in tips is a great way to make sure that the things that are important to you are getting covered. Having those conversations with your local news outlets, whatever news outlet you're using, whether it's a hyper local weekly paper or a larger statewide newspaper, a website like Inside Investigator, your local television station, whichever one of the four local Connecticut television stations you use. Keep in contact with them. Let them know what's important to you. Let them know what you like from the coverage. Let them know what's been bothering you, and do it, as politely, ideally, but also as completely as you can. If you have a tip that you want to send in, give as much information as possible. Include documentation that you have or can find. Just make it so that it is easy to pitch the stories to the people in charge, that it is easy to find a starting point, that it is easy to get back in touch with you to make sure that you can help tell that story, and just keep letting people know, and keep searching out for more information about your community.
I love that. It's so important. I see Catherine nodding her head as well. This is something I think all journalists deal with, and our journalism by humans for humans tagline. Like, I joke that sometimes it's pithy maybe, but I think it's important, right? You got to take it to heart, because if you're not treating the people who are reaching out to you well and expecting the same in return, that anger is not going to be helpful for anyone. I'll also take the opportunity to mention, we did, when we found out that you were moving on to this new role, we did put a job listing out there too for another investigative reporter, which is really exciting. We certainly have no shortage of work, and we have almost 100 applicants already for that position, which is fantastic. We're so excited about the energy of just people wanting to work in this newsroom. But obviously, we're looking for exceptional talent. So to anyone watching, listening, hearing this, heck, even if this is 2 years from now, you happen to listen to this episode, chances are we're still looking for really great talent. So please don't hesitate to either throw your hat in the ring, or send us excellent candidates so we can continue to grow and go about the business of rooting out corruption in Connecticut through investigative journalism. Catherine, any other words, anything else that you have related to the investigation, other stories? I know Tricia and I just kind of talked about landscape stuff a little bit too. Your words of wisdom are appreciated as well.
I think Trish said it very well. The only other thing I'll add to that is, every investigation needs a starting point. So when you send us tips, which we love, stuff like documentation or, hey, go look here, that is always appreciated, because that saves us a lot of time and trying to figure out, for ourselves where we need to start things off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tricia, any sign off? Anything else that you have for the general public here?
It's been really great to spend these 2.5 years here. I've learned a lot working with this, small but really dedicated team, and learning more about the landscape here in Connecticut. Even though I grew up nearby, I didn't know that much about the state, because every state's so different. So I've learned a lot here, and I've really enjoyed covering the people that I have been able to, and having those conversations, and meeting people and seeing interesting things. If you have liked the things that we've done, if you've been enjoying the work that we do, send us a tip, or just send us an email to say you've liked things, or even better, donate, because really good journalism like the stuff that we do here is difficult and expensive to do. So any support is helpful.
Absolutely. And if anyone sends really nice emails about Tricia, I promise I will make sure that they get to her as well. info@insideinvestigator.org. Those will be forwarded. They will not just be kept in our ecosystem, despite her being just a stone's throw down the road. Tricia, huge thank you for everything over the last 2.5 years. Like I said, taking us literally from day one. It means the world to us. I think we're all having a good time here and doing something really important. And thank you for your role in making that successful. Catherine, thank you for this investigation. Excited for the next one. And to everyone out there, thank you so much for watching, listening, and tuning in. Until we are back in 2 weeks, be well, stay safe, and stay informed.